Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Okay, I've finally figured out this mic thing here. All right, I think I am live on the microphone here on the live YouTube streaming session. Hello, everybody. This is John. I'm at the Eyepiece. What you're seeing right now is a live view of M76. This is a planetary nebula in the constellation Perseus. We are observing from Middle Tennessee with a very modest telescope, a Celestron C8. That means it's an 8-inch aperture telescope. We're using a monochrome or black and white camera to go ahead and show the night sky tonight. And this planetary nebula, let's switch back to our Sky Safari app here so that we can explain with audio what we are seeing. Here's our colored image of M76 in the night sky. Now, of course, we're not seeing the color. We're using monochrome camera. We're trading off sensitivity. To get the most sensitivity, we're trading off having color. But you can clearly see that we're picking up pretty much the exact shape and size here of this planetary nebula. Beautiful planetary nebula. Red denotes hydrogen within that gas, and green is oxygen. So this is a, let's see, ionized shell of a white dwarf as it changed its shape, if you will, or as it goes through its life cycle of a star. It goes from a main sequence star, happily burning hydrogen, into being a red giant. From a red giant, it starts to run out of its fuel and becomes a neutron star. Well, that neutron star basically starts to push off the outer layers that were physically connected to it, but gravity lost and energy won. And we're seeing this ionized gas now here as this green and reddish area with these outer lobes. So our own sun, in fact, will become one of these planetary nebula. Planetary nebula are very, very cool to go ahead and see in the night sky for yourself because there are just so many different shapes. There's one called the Saturn Nebula. There's one called the Dumbbell Nebula. And this, of course, is the Little Dumbbell Nebula. There's one called the Ring Nebula. It's just so many. The Cat's Eye Nebula. I mean, planetary nebula are fascinating, fascinating objects to go ahead and track down for yourself at the Eyepiece. So let's go ahead and see where this one is in particular to our orientation outside right now. So we'll get rid of the wonderful information here up on the screen. We'll just primarily go to where we're looking just about. So let's see. Okay, so we're at the northeast portion of the night sky. And if you were to find the constellation Cassiopeia, which is right there to the left, you will go ahead and see M76 right over here near Upsilon Perseus. So we'll get our red circle right on it, right there. So that's about where we're looking at with our telescope. And it's pretty easy to find if you can find Cassiopeia and then the constellation Perseus, Almach, and Upsilon Perseus, and then scoot over a little bit from that and we'll zoom in here, and here's our planetary nebula. Here's our colored image, and of course here is our live image. That's right, we are live with this particular image of M76 planetary nebula right at the telescope for us. So once we are done with this one, we are going to go ahead and check out one more. Hey, there's Gary and Paul. Hey there, guys. I'm just testing this stuff out here with the new Google, or not the Google, but the YouTube streaming. How's the image coming through? Okay. Audio coming through good too? Not doing a whole lot of pixelation? Oh, good. All right. Awesome. Very good. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I decided to pop in over here because I could not get myself working on Night Skies Network tonight. So I figured I will try to do this new setup, which is completely new because I'm using another piece of software that I haven't used before either to actually get the streaming. All right, so let's I am going to minimize this screen here. I got a lot of screens going, so I apologize. Take me a minute. It might take me a minute to see things going on in the chat. All right, Gary. So let's see. I am using a Mac computer. I'm using Lodestar Live to talk to the camera that I'm using, Lodestar. And I'm using another program called Cam Twist on the Mac, which I really like because it can do some enhancements that I haven't found an equal for yet in Windows. And that's, of course, live. Then I'm using OBS for Mac, which is Open Broadcast System, I believe they call it. See here. It's basically just a Mac and Windows software that you can use to stream the feed over to this YouTube live streaming server. So yeah, I got that running. Of course, I've got the YouTube stream page opened here and the Sky Safari app open. So keeping me busy here. All right, so let's stop our really nice image here of M76. Let me make sure I got a screen, a saved image of this too, by the way. Hold on. M76, what are we doing? I think 30 seconds exposures, and I got quite a bit of these. I'll just put 5. And yes, I am stacking, so that helps out. Yeah, this is 30 seconds. Okay, so we're going to drop down to 5 seconds so that we can center up and view our next target. Oh, I also got another screen going to the laptop that I'm using outside to control the scope too. All right, bear with me while I'm looking for another object to scoot on over to. You know what I think we'll try, gang, is the Bubble Nebula in Cassiopeia. We're not too far from that. NGC 7635. 7635. Okay, NGC 7635 is coming up. Now 76, there we go. It's just barely in the bottom view. Okay, so let's see if we can get that up just a little bit higher. This is a 5-second exposure. And just get it up a little bit higher. Oh, going the wrong way. This should come out pretty good. This one's pretty. I like the bubble nebula. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got with a 45-second on this one. So let's go to 45 seconds on the bubble. Might be blown out, but we'll see. Let's see what we got. All right, so let's go back to our image here. This is our Sky Safari app. This is my planetarium program. So this is the object that we're going for, gang. And so now we just got to come up on the screen. So let's take a look at what we have. And there we are. There is the bubble nebula. Let's go ahead and see what we can bring out here. We definitely have the bubble itself coming through pretty good. So let's see about where we are looking at in the night sky. It's going to be a pretty crowded view here. Here's our Sky Safari app. Basically, we are looking dead north right now. And if you find Polaris, continue to go up and you will find the constellation Cassiopeia. And Cap in Cassiopeia points pretty much to our bubble nebula. Here's Cap, and as we continue to zoom in, we'll scoot over. The green line represents the meridian, by the way. And there is our Crescent Nebula here, this box, right near a pretty nice open cluster, M52. All right, so let's pick up some information on, it's a bright nebula in Cassiopeia. It's magnitude 11. Here's a couple of nice, look at that, that's a pretty image there. Red should mean hydrogen. Let's compare that back to our view. And there's our view. From our light polluted skies of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, with only a 45 second exposure. No, this is a 30-second exposure. I need to change that. Let's actually up it to 45. I thought I had 45 seconds. Maybe not. Let's get a little bit more from it. So here's 45 seconds coming up on the bubble nebula. I am using, Paul, the Lodestar X2. It's a guider, believe it or not. But Starlight Express has just come out with their Ultra Star. That is a dedicated live viewing camera with Lodestar Live. I don't think they call it Lodestar Live. They might call it Ultra Star Live now, but it's the same software basically, for what I understood. Paul Shears makes it. He's out of the UK. Hey, there we go. Here's a 45-second exposure. So let's stack that. Now we're picking up quite a bit. Now we're picking up quite a bit more of that extended nebula around the bubble itself. That's pretty cool. Paul, you got audio going, right? I want to make sure you're hearing what I'm saying. Make sure I'm not ignoring you by not typing. Yep, good. All right, there we go. All right. One thing that I wish I could get here was a way to highlight things on the screen. Alright, so let's go back to our Sky Safari app. I'll leave the image up, but I'll go back to the Sky Safari app. So, this was Mr. Frederick Wilhelm Herschel, 1787. And I'm going to look to see how far. 11,000 light years away. And about 10 light years across. Yeah, this is cleaning up nicely. I'm really liking this view right now. Really picking up, I'll show you the Sky Safari app. You can see how, of course, the reddish, but we're matched almost exactly to this orientation right here. You can really see how we're doing a fair amount of picking up ourselves here. Wish I could zoom, but I can't zoom any more than that, I guess. Yeah, it's coming up good. This is 4 stacks. We should be approaching 5 here next. I usually notice with 5 stacks it does a nice job of cleaning up a little bit more of the background. This is how the image from the camera looks without the cam twist software making a little bit of helping out there. I think it just improves it a bit. Really like the subtle features we're picking up just to the upper of the bubble itself. That's really neat. And we're actually picking up a fair amount of detail within the bubble itself too. Just had a way of highlighting these things here. All right, and there is our 6th stack for the bubble. So I will probably stop the stacking here. And get my image saved. All right. Yeah, thanks, Gary. It came out well. We're going to look at something that I just get a kick at every time I look at it, because it's actually an object within the Andromeda Galaxy. And I just think that is so cool to be able to see something within another galaxy. So we're going to scoot on over to NGC 206. This is actually a bright nebulous region within the Andromeda Galaxy. Alright, so we're going to change this again to about 5 seconds, just so that we can center up our views. Got the scope moving on over there. Might need a little bit longer to... Usually I'm a bit low, I think, on my target. So let me see if I can get... Because I think... I'm not sure if that's coming through on the screen for you, but I think I'm picking it up. has just a little bit of a haziness on the screen. All right, let's start guiding. And let's start our exposure here. I'm going to go up to 60 seconds for this. So we're going to go up to a minute. And this is NGC 206. So let's take a look on the planetarium program, and I'll show you what we're going to expect to see at least. Oh, let me change the text here. So here is, of course, the Andromeda Galaxy. Portion of the Andromeda Galaxy, actually. I'll zoom out a little bit. So yeah, here's our Andromeda Galaxy. NGC 206 is this bright region right here within the Andromeda Galaxy. And I just get a kick at the fact that we can see that within a different galaxy, even from the relatively light polluted skies here of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And yep, that should be it right there. Let me drop this exposure down. And there we are. Now, you might not think that that's anything to write home about, but I just think that is so neat. Here we are in our galaxy, and we're seeing something in a completely different galaxy. Not just spiral arms, nothing like that, but a nebulous region. So our orientation's a bit different from this view. Let's see if I can adjust that. Okay, we're going to stack a little bit here for this to clean it up just a bit while I look at making some changes. If I can, anyway. Display. Oh, that actually, there we go. That kind of highlights that even more. Let me go back to my window. There we go. So now we're really able to pick out. You should start to be able to see some of the dust lanes of Andromeda here. And then, of course, that haziness, that almost looks like a open cluster, if you will. Maybe even an oblong globular cluster, faint, but that is a nebulous region within the Andromeda Galaxy, NGC 206 there. We're picking up a little bit of the dust lanes, too, of M31 right now, as the stacking helps to improve the view. Of course, M31 is a completely separate galaxy. The Andromeda Galaxy. Let's see if I can go ahead and find... interesting little note here. Spitzer Space Telescope in 2006 determined that M31 contains about 1 trillion stars. That's about 25% higher than the star count in our own Milky Way galaxy. And we are about 2.54 million light years away. That is the estimated distance. Alright, so we are at 4 stacks here on NGC 206. So once again, let me go back to my Sky Safari app to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at here. Now the orientation is going to be slightly different. But that bluish patch of concentrated stars, actually nebula, is what we're seeing in our own image here from our live stream from the telescope. NGC 206 is part of the Andromeda Galaxy. Okay, we're going to go to a different galaxy here, gang, if you're ready. So let me grab the image here. Huh, that is so weird. Sometimes it puts the name in there with everything I want, and sometimes it doesn't. Anyway. Alright, get rid of that. Did I turn off? Ooh, I don't know what happened there. Guiding just cracked up on us for a moment. We're going for another galaxy here. We had up one of our first galaxies, which was a face-on spiral with a prominent dust lane. This one is going to be even one step up from that. Let me just get this a little bit more... wrong way. Let me get this a little bit more centered up. This is going to be much larger than our first target from this evening. I don't think you, Paul, or Gary were on there when I did the first object here. Start up our guiding. And we'll let this just come on up. We'll surprise you with what this is going to be. Any guesses? It's an edge-on galaxy with a prominent dust lane. Visible right now. Northern Hemisphere. Yes, Gary, I am. Yes, the Lodestar Live, Gary, does permit you to stack. All right, so here is NGC 891. 60 seconds. Yeah, that was kind of unfair to you, Paul. I guess. Gary, Paul's from down under in Australia, I believe, right, Paul? All right, we are stacking this. New Zealand. I always get that mixed up. All right, of course, this is 891 is in the constellation Andromeda. So let's take a look at what our Sky Safari says. So here's the image from Sky Safari. Of course, it's in the constellation Andromeda. Pretty much facing the northeast if you were outside. And right now, it's about 53 degrees altitude, so it's up there ways. And we're getting that in our view. So you can really see the dust lane cutting through that very prominent halo. Then, of course, the edge-on spiral itself extending either direction from that. Really a neat edge-on. One of the nicest ones out there. I'd say Sombrero definitely has got it on it, but this one's pretty cool. And so let's see here. This one is 30 million light years away. So 30 million light years away. Let's see what we can do to tweak our image a bit. There we go. Making a little bit of changes here to bring out certain portions of the detail. There we go. I think that's a nice balance. Now that central dust lane's really popping. And this is an image, we have 5 stacks right now for this image through the Lodestar Live program. So I am going to save it. And that time it didn't do it. All right, so 891. All right. If you look really closely, in fact, let's try to zoom in here. Now, the zooming doesn't help too much, but you can actually pick up a bit of the subtle vertical dust lanes too. Not really vertical dust lanes, but patches of dust, I guess, around the core itself. And yes, I'm using the software Lodestar Live to do a little bit of the zooming. Just to see if you can see some of those dusty regions that emulate from the core perpendicular to the main dust lane itself. All right, gang. Well, I have been on here about an hour. I'm going to try to give me 1 second here. Bear with me. Hold on. Sorry about that. I had to step out and get a drink. All right. So we're going to stop our exposure of NGC 891, our distant galaxy here. Reset our view. Flip back to about a 5-second exposure so that we can go ahead and look for our next object. So here is our planetarium program. We will zoom out, give you an idea of where we were in the sky, zooming out further. So we're looking out pretty much to the northeast east side. And we will continue to zoom here. We have an open cluster not too far away. Pleiades has started to rise up. What is that? Well, that's kind of creepy. Let's go to NGC 246. Let's see if we can pull in the Skull Nebula. If I can get my right screen up here. There we go. I believe that is on the same side. Yeah. Oops. All right, so we are rolling on over to the Skull Nebula. See what we can pull in with that. I sure wish this chat window had a way of notifying me when chat comes up. But, oh well. I guess this isn't beta, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. All right. I think those 3 stars there, if I recall, are the 3 stars in the skull. Let's see if I'm right. Oh, no. Is it over there to the right? Yes, indeed. I was off a little bit more than I thought. This is a 5-second exposure that I use mostly just to center objects because my go-tos. I'm using a CG5 mount, which is a pretty modest mount. Doesn't even have periodic error correction. It's a modest weight. It's an old mount. It's been around for many years. They don't even make them anymore. But that is what I use. So there we go. That's the star grouping associated with the skull. Wait till this settles down. And we're going to go with a little bit longer exposure here. And let's see, what should we try to do? Let's go 90. You know what? No. That area of my sky is pretty light polluted. I think I'm just going to keep it at 60 and see what we can do. All right, so in keeping with the Halloween theme coming up here, at least for us in the States, here is NGC 246, the Skull Nebula. coming up. Now you'll be able to see it. I mean, right now on the screen it's coming through, well, not actually to you because I'm still running the Sky Safari app. There you go. Now to you guys, you can see that grouping of stars in the middle. You can see just a little bit of a glow, if you will, around that. And that is going to be where our nebula is going to come up. This is a planetary nebula. At least I believe it is a planetary nebula. I don't think it's just another another type of nebula. Let me double check that. Ooh. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. There we go. So there is our Skull Nebula. Coming through pretty good. 60-second exposure. You can tell that's more light polluted because I have to really turn down my white, histogram a little bit, stretch it out, turn my white level down because it just gets oversaturated in that portion of my sky. So let's go, while we're waiting on our next image here, let's go back to our Sky Safari app. We're looking towards the south, the southeast, predominantly the south pretty much. And if we were going into the constellation Cetus, I guess it is, we would be looking at this object right here, planetary nebula. Yeah, that is a planetary nebula. And let's bring it up on the screen here. So this guy's discovered in 1785 by William Herschel, my favorite amateur astronomer. And it is magnitude 10.39. And we're going to get a pretty good view, I think, of this. Yeah, we should get a pretty good view of this, I think. Very comparable. So let's go back to our window view. And there we are. Here's our version of the skull here at 60 seconds. Now we'll know this one's probably a pretty tough one to hit visually. You need a good dark sky. You probably pick it up with a 4, but you have to really be pushing it, in my opinion, with that one. I had trouble seeing this at all from a dark sky sight many years ago with even my 8. So at least for me, I saw a little bit of it. Brighten it up, but as soon as we brighten it up, it just brightens up the whole region. Let's see if I can do something else. There we go. I think that helps a little bit with the contrast. What do you think, guys? Okay, wow, we got 7 folks watching. All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is more or less a live streaming test, but I'm glad everybody's hopping on board. We're seeing the night sky live right now at the Eyepiece is a planetary nebula called the Skull Nebula. Basically, what a planetary nebula is, we're seeing the ionized gas or the ionized shell of a dying star that has pushed off its outer layers and is now a white dwarf somewhere in the middle there. And its energy is what is brightening up the outer layers there that it has expelled long time ago. And it's been fun, but I think this will be our last object for the night, because I do want to get testing the streaming to another site as well. So enjoy the view while we are on it here for a bit. I might try this method as well tomorrow for broadcasting our sun in hydrogen alpha. I know, Paul, you do some phenomenal stuff down from New Zealand with the sun and HA work, and calcium K and white light. I believe you cover all the bases there. Alright, so we got a little bit different view. Yeah, Gary, it has been fun trying out this different method of sharing the universe with everybody, so I appreciate you hopping on in. We got 5 stacks right now of the Skull Nebula. And I think once we save this image, we will wrap it up, and I'm going to try it at a different site here. See if I can do this on Night Skies Network on this way. Yeah, it's kind of off and on with that white light stuff. I know a couple of weeks ago it had some nice sunspots, but, you know, I guess we're going to have to get used to being a little bit of a boring sun for a while as we get closer and closer to solar minimum, unfortunately. But hydrogen alpha has been pretty cool. I don't think I've ever captured this one. Alright, so let's save this image. And it didn't put the title up again, but okay. Alright, Paul, Gary, thanks for stopping in. Everybody else that has been here watching the first ever live stream of at the Eyepiece, using some new software and this beta version of the YouTube channel's live streaming capabilities. I appreciate you stopping in, and we might be doing this more in the future, so keep an eye out. I'd love to see you. Of course, I'd love to see you so that we can share the night sky together. And the daytime star as well, the sun. Might be back on here tomorrow, we'll see. All right, that's going to be a wrap. Thanks, everybody, for stopping in. Till next time, clear skies. See you at the Eyepiece.